Okej, mirëmëngjes, krejtve, mirë se keni ardhur në aktivitetin e 6 të serisë Diaspora Talks këtu në ICK. Verës zakonisht jemi me plot mysafirë prej diasporës. Kjo është aktiviteti jonë i dytë që përkrahet përmes një projekti me Ministrinë e Punëve të Jashtme dhe Diasporës të Republikës Kosovës. Qëllimi është me ofru komunitetin lokal bashkë me disa prej mysafirëve që vijnë prej diasporës, profileve ndryshme. Kemi pas krenar komunën e Tojvit, kemi pas visarin nga Arizona State University, Gagica ke javën e kalume, edhe sot kemi kënaqësinë me mirëprit në ICK. Për herë të dytë, për herë parë si mysafir zyrtar, Gezim Gashin, ndoshta një duar trokitje si punë me seardhje për. Unë nuk kisha dashur shumë, kjo ka më qenë një bashkëbisedim i përzim shqip anglisht, po ndoshta vetëm një përshkrim të shkurt. Gezim Gashi is a purpose-driven entrepreneur, mentor, speaker, educationalist, branding guru, bestselling author, and the partner of OCS Institute for Arts and Innovation in Los Angeles, California. Unlocked the Power of You is his first book. Originally from Akllap, Kosovo, he grew up in Alvesta in Sweden and now lives in New York City and California. Përpara se me shku me një prezantim pak më të thukt për Gëzimin, unë kisha ftuar me ndjek një intervistë të shkurtër që Gëzimi ka dhënë për NBC në New York, disa ditë përpara se me arrijë në Kosovë. Për ndjekim bashkë intervistën e shkurt.
This morning, a refugee who fled from war in Kosovo as a child is now manifesting his dreams and finding success later in life.
His name is Gezim Gashi. While he lived in Sweden, he followed his passion for music, working as a producer, mentor, and talent scout. And just 3 years ago, he moved to Los Angeles and launched the Institute of Arts and Innovation at Oaks Christian School, where he currently runs the department's mentorship program.
Now he's helping others unleash the power of their dreams with his new self-help book, Unlocked the Power of You. And Gezim Gashi joins us now. Good to have you with us here in person. So tell us more. Let's talk about your book there that you have in your hands, The Power of You. What do you mean by that?
The whole idea with Unlock the Power of You is that I believe that we have to find our own narrative and we have to claim it. And I think we can do that through storytelling. And just understand that the way we speak about ourselves, the way we think about ourselves, really determines of the people that we're going to be. So in this book, I really guide the reader of really figuring out, their story and their narrative and really making sure that they claim it and really, just use that as a superpower.
Absolutely. So obviously we have to read the book to really get into the details of this. But because it does sort of promise to help you unleash the power of your dreams, control your own narrative, just give us a little slice of how you can do that.
So how you can do that is, first of all, just the way we use words. So for example, when I work with my students, and I have that in the book as well, when we say, I am anxious, or I always tell my students to rather say, I feel anxious, instead of I am anxious, because the word feel can easily be more connected to temporary feeling, but when we say I am anxious, that can make us think that it is who we are. It becomes like, oh, it's our identity. So that's why I always tell the students that we have to understand that whenever we feel something, that can be a temporary feeling. So it's just the guidance of really, trying to understand that whatever is happening, that it's temporary, and just really figuring out what's the identity and what's the narrative.
Yeah.
You've had an incredible story. How is it that your life experiences have helped you find success?
I mean, I was 10 years old when my mom told me this incredible story. I was in Sweden, and she, I was just always been so excited as a kid, and she was like, I have a story that I want to tell you, and I want you to use it to do anything in life. So the story that she told me was that when I was born, June 29, 1990, it was a lot of sensitive stuff happening in Kosovo, and on July the 2nd, 1990, the Kosovo parliament declared independency from the Serbian parliament. And then what that happened is that it triggered a genocide, and Serbian soldiers came to this hospital where I was still a newborn baby, and my mom had to call my dad and her brother, and they came outside her second floor window, and she tossed me out of the window, and really it had to escape. And then when they came to the village, my grandma was so happy that I was alive and that Kosovo became republic. So she screamed and said, "This is the happiest day of my life, so your name should be Gëzim," because Gëzim means joy in Albanian. So
Power of you. That's it. Yeah. Gëzim, what an incredible story. Thank you for sharing it with us. Thank you for sharing the book out. Congratulations on it. Everybody read The Power of You. Gëzim, thank you so much for your time this morning.
Good luck to you.
Thank you.
And that does it for this hour of Morning News Now.
But the news continues right now.
Yeah, you have heard it yourself. After being thrown from a hospital window and fleeing from Kosovo to Sweden with his family to escape the genocide, Gezim Gashi went on to become the first Albanian and Swede to launch high school institute in the United States, which is like the OCS Institute of Arts and Innovation, and have, through his successful marketing company, worked with legendary companies such as Walt Disney Company and Quincy Jones Production, where he served as a management advisor. Gëzim, let's start with the book.
Let's do that.
Let's do that. That's a sad story. We are all really glad to see you still alive and after being thrown from that window. So you have written a book that is having a lot of success in America. Can you please explain the process of when you started to write the book until now, and why you started exactly with the Unlock thing?
So I was in New York when it was March 2020, and I had just had my first keynote at Harvard, and then my mom and my sister came to Boston to see everything that I was going to do at the masterclass, and then the pandemic happened, and then no one knew anything, and then my sister and my mom left to Sweden, and then I remember I was in my apartment in New York, and there was a lot of questions that were unanswered, and then I started to talk to my students because we went directly to remote, and then between all the calls that I had with my students, I needed to start writing assignments and stuff and things that I wanted them to read, and then after 50 pages or something like that, then that turned into be a book. And then once I had 50 pages or like 50 to 100 pages, that's when I knew that, okay, wait, I have something here that I think, a lot of people can read. And then through that, so the first step is obviously to pitch your book to publishing companies. And my friend had worked with a publishing company in Canada, and she really liked them, so she introduced me to them. It went very fast, very natural. They loved the idea. They loved everything that I wanted to say in the book. They read the first manuscript, and then I was offered to do a deal with them. And then after that, what happens is that you get a book editor, and then the book editors with me really guides you, what you should think about, and because they have core values that they want to follow. So for example, in the book, I really don't get into too political stuff because that's who they are, but also that's who I am. So we talk more about, individual development and stuff that I have gone through. And then obviously after that, you have to make a plan, a strategic plan to release the book. And we decided to do it through Amazon because 60% of all the books in America are being sold through Amazon. And then we did the product marketing, we did PR, we did social media. I do have great friends in America who have a great following. And then we released the book on November 29, and then it debuted at #1 on the self-help category in America. And then through that is just been going up and up and up. But it's been very interesting.
Yeah, it's just amazing, and we have the first copy
here.
Yeah,
this is actually the first copy.
And I think that we'll also order
Yes.
some online through the Amazon. But there is something that happened to you that's a personal story that is life-changing.
Yeah.
And is it also linked to the book, and what was that?
Yeah, so that was the life-changing moment that I was telling about at the interview. But the reason why I think that was life-changing was that, being Albanian from Kosovo, growing up in Sweden, where everyone has blonde hair, blue eyes, I definitely felt sometimes that, I couldn't really come through because I wasn't like everyone else. And I remember I went home and told my mom that I don't think I am from Sweden, I think I'm gonna move to America. And I was 10 years old. And then my mom said, whatever you're gonna do, I know it's gonna be incredible because I have a story I wanna tell you. And then she told me this story, and then I was I couldn't believe it. Because it sounded like a movie. I was like, this is a movie or what is this? But then what that made me understand, and this is where the whole idea of the book came to life, is that I believe that made me understand I have a purpose. That it made me understand that, okay, there's a reason you're here, and whatever is going to happen, you have to be fearless. So I think when my mom told me that, it made me understand that, you know, you have a reason to be here, but it also made me very fearless. Since then, I've always been, you know, you have to be very, very, you know, passionate to do a lot of stuff, because I obviously come from no wealth, I come from no connections or anything, so I had to find something that I believe in and really, you know, just push that out to the world.
Let's go back to your life in Sweden.
Yes.
And in your book, you also share a moment when your Swedish music teacher that introduced you to the Grammy Award-winning Rami Yacoub.
Yes.
Right? Why was that moment so important for you and for the book itself?
Yeah. So I think that was the first moment I had outside of my own family, because as I said, my mom told me this story, but it was still within my family, so I still felt, okay, at least, you know, my mom shared me this story. But then at my school that I went in Alvesta in Sweden, I had a teacher called Harriet, and she always saw how I was driven and how I was doing stuff. And I remember we were in a classroom, and then everyone had to go in front of the class and say what they want to do when they're older. Then I went in front of everyone and I said, I'm gonna move to America and I'm gonna do this and this and that. And this is a very, very tiny village in Sweden. So everyone was just quiet and just looked at me, and then all the kids talked to each other like I'm insane. And then I remember I actually didn't take it personal, but I did remember the energy went very low. So I became quiet. And that's when my music teacher took me out of class and she said, meet me at 3 p.m. after school. I have something I want to tell you. Because she obviously saw that I was being treated differently, because at that time I was still a refugee from Kosovo. So she met me after class, and she came with a portfolio with magazines, with CDs and everything. And then she sat me down and she was like, this is Rami Yacoub, he's just like you. He is an immigrant and now from Sweden, and now he has achieved this. Rami went on to write songs for, Britney Spears, NSYNC, Backstreet Boys. He's still very active. He just did the album to Beyonce. He's done Ariana Grande, Lady Gaga and everything. So when she explained that, that's, I think, when I really understood that, okay, wait, in this country, which was Sweden, even if I have, moments where I feel I cannot come through, I can be something because now I have Rami as an example. And then what that happened is that MySpace came on, which was like, before Facebook. And I saw that he was on MySpace, and I reached out to him and I told him this story. I was like, hey, this is what happened to me. And he responded and he was like, wow, whatever I can do for you, let's stay in touch. Fast forward to just him now flying from America to be with me in Kosovo for 4 days, and he just left yesterday. So which for me was insane, because I remember how many summers I used to spend every year in Kosovo and always think about what Rami has achieved, I can do that as well. So for him to now come from Kosovo to be here with me, to just really just stay here with me and visit, and obviously went to different activities here in Kosovo. But I think, and we have talked about it, I was like, what made you believe in me? And he said that your story and the way you approached me made me believe that there is something here. So that's something also I teach in the book, that storytelling is something that we can use to connect with people. And especially now with social media. And I do believe a lot of great things can happen through social media, even from Kosovo. So that's why no matter when I talk to someone here, is that, I just use social media to connect with the people that you look up to. But also, I think the best kind of relationship starts when you inspire each other. Because obviously in the industry that I am, everyone thinks that you need something for someone, and then people become a little bit opportunistic and everything. But I think for me, I never chose that path. I chose to be with people that believe in the same mission as me, and have really chosen people that have a character that I want to have around me. And my cousin, who's here too, he got to spend time with Rami all 4 days. And Rami, once again, very successful, all Grammys, everything, lives that life that we see in the movies. And he said that as well. He was like, he's so down to earth. And I told him, like, everyone that I have in America or Sweden, all of them share that. Like, we don't, even me and you and Uranik now, who are friends, we're not gonna be cooler just because we do something. We are friends, we talk. Then what we do outside of it, even this NBC, I'm very glad for that, but that doesn't change who I am. I'm still Gëzim.
Yeah, it's amazing. So before we go deeper into the book, how did you end up in the entertainment industry? Like, is this book linked to the entertainment industry?
I think this book can be used as a tool to any kind of industry, because this book is more about, as I said, personal development and understanding that we have a mission, we have a purpose, and we have to understand how we can reach that, but then also to control our own narrative. And for example, in this book, I do share, my mom gave me my narrative, and obviously that really, I think, had made me come to where I am today. But if you don't have that narrative, because for example, in education, I spend a lot of time with my students who then tell me that their parents tell them, don't do this, we don't believe in you, you're not gonna be anything. And then I think, if that has happened to me, that, so obviously I know how blessed I am, but I also have to go on the other side. So that's why this book, I really try to work hard on, to finding ways of how students, I mean anyone in general, not just students, can start asking questions. Because in this book, obviously, there's a lot of assignments, I ask questions, and so by the time...
it's not a typical book, like it says...
No, it is a self-help book, but for example, I can show you a little bit inside. So for example, I try to... let's see. For example, here, this is my statement of the person that I've chosen to become. And then throughout this book, I want the reader to also find, their mission and statement. Yeah. So if a lot of people who bought the book, you have a notebook on the side because they don't want to write in the book. But then, for example, I do think it is important to also understand that, what are some of the traits that we think are not characters that we don't want to have around us. So here's a lot of, I asked, for example, here, like, choose 5 of some of the character traits that you think are the most important for yourself. And so it's just, I think, a book that has to remind us that the people that we want to become is also based on the people that we have around us.
Yeah, and this is something that now we're going deeper into the book, and says that you talk about a lot about the importance of how do you think on being things to build authentic relationships with people that we work.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I would say that's the most important thing, because when I think of, for example, the people that I now work with in America, how that whole relationship got started was that I was in Sweden, and this American couple have heard about what we were doing in Sweden, so they decided to come to Sweden to see all the stuff that I had created as a head of marketing for the music school that I was working in Sweden. So when they came, we immediately connected on just personal stuff. They shared what they believe in, I shared what I believed in, but then we started to become friends. Because I think, especially this younger generation, and I mean even on social media, we reach out to people just because I know you, I can ask you something and think that you're gonna do it for me just because now I know you, and a lot of people are very aggressive. And I think for us is that you know, now we're friends, and then whatever happens, but the importance is to build a relationship that then can turn to be something that we develop into, business or friends and also the timing. We have to understand that for me, I've met a lot of people early on who I actually did not start to work with, but then I still chose to do something else, but then they see or I see them, then you still get connected. But my thing has always been that I try to really focus on just meeting you and authentically, like I've connected with you guys. We've connected and hey, I'm here, but it cannot come off as opportunistic. And I remember Quincy Jones, when I met him the first time, he told me that I told him everything I was doing with the school and everything, and he loved it. And he said, remember that the most important thing in this industry, actually any industry, is to be ethical. Because that is what makes you really gonna stay in the industry. Because Quincy Jones has been active in the music industry for more than 50 years. And if there was things that wasn't ethical, I don't think you can stay for that long in this industry. But so it's all about being authentic, but also knowing to do the right thing.
Gëzim, në Swedi njerëz pak më të ftoftë janë.
Yes.
Ameriku pak më ndryshe. So how there are different approaches on building authentic relationship in Sweden and the US and in Kosovo. Like you wrote to Ranik on LinkedIn, he'd linked me to send me their contacts.
Yeah.
And then the first time we talked is like I think I knew you like in the 10 years.
Yeah.
This doesn't happen. I mean, you cannot experience this in Sweden.
Yeah, I think for me is that and I think that's why I do so well in America, because they say that our culture is very similar. Because in America, they see us, we are very patriotic. When we decide something, we're it's like talking to the wall, and they are like that too. And that's why I do so well in America. But I have a lot of Swedish friends who have moved to America, and they have a really hard time. Because when you are with a Swede, for example, let's say if we're meeting the first time, they're going to come here and like, hey, very nice to meet you. And then you're like, okay, cool.
Po I bosh për shmon që I ke fol.
Po, more qysh jo. Edhe bojnë shumë kopë, jo veç për ashtu, po dyqysh nuk është një farë energjie që s'është sinqert. Edhe një sen që because shme thonë tashti në që të levet që e kom rjone, ti du të me konë edhe I drejt. So për shambull, une kur jam në situata, edhe me konë aj sen që është për fitim temin, baj personi me ba sen të keq, une me du të me ndërhyje me thonë, this is not ethical, we don't do that, even if it benefits me. Po së des, krejt e din, edhe kena po shëqër që tashti me qëtësot situatë që ndodhë me këta Rusi e krejt që fëllen pak, se dhja mëso edhe vetë mësojnë edhe me kanë mirë me një anë edhe me një anë. But in this, and I think, actually a Swedish friend of mine said that I have so much issue with that. Because we are taught that, we have to be good with everyone. But that's not the industry. Yeah. You cannot, we all know that you cannot be loyal to everyone. You have to choose your loyalty. And the loyalty that you have chosen, only you can decide that. So I think that for me wasn't really a struggle, but it was a struggle in Sweden. Because in Sweden they could say one thing, shkosha dikon tjetër, më thëjke diçka tjetër, tu sa fola me njerin, shkosha për thaj, po you just said this.
Ka ndru sanet.
Kështu që në Amerikë, I do not experience that as much, which is nice.
Gëzim, in your book you also talk a lot about controlling your narrative.
Yeah.
So how do we control our own narrative?
So I believe, we have this workshop that I do with my students, and it's in the book too as well, is that I think we have to understand, first we have to talk to ourselves, like who do we want to be? And then we have 2 pages, and then this is the identity and this is the temporary feeling. And it goes back to what I was saying at my NBC show, because obviously this younger generation, because of social media, because of all the stuff that they have to live up to, I am seeing a generation that are very, very depressed, and they feel not good enough, and they feel that they have to do certain things to get likes, to do this. A lot of them think that they have to do that to be accepted by social media, because our society when we grew up, it wasn't social media, but that's what they think it is for them. Like they have to fit in the mold in social media. So what we try to do, especially with anxiety, is that because I have seen a huge difference on a lot of students, is that when they use the words on how they speak about themselves. And I think that goes back to the controlling the narrative. So for example, if you are anxious, or if you're mad, or if you're sad, or for example, like if you and I get to an argument and I feel like I'm almost mean to you, I have to tell you that I am not a mean person, but my feelings are that I feel that you have done something to me that is not right. So it's because the industry, I mean, once you're in it, it goes really fast, and it's very easy to take things personal and you know, especially social, because I mean, we've seen, I'm sure you met people on social media, you see them online and then you meet them in person, it's two completely people.
Especially those with filters.
Oh yeah. But I think the most important thing is that when we understand that this is my identity, so for example, I have chosen my identity. I've chosen to be an optimist and passionate. I've chosen to be loyal and have a character that, you know, benefits the young generation. And then you have to, because obviously there's time when I feel anxious as well. That's very normal. But I always have this idea, and actually someone from Harvard said this to me. She was like, we have to see life as this sunny blue sky, and then we have to think, you know, when the clouds or when the storm comes, we have to think of them as these temporary feelings. So for example, when we see a cloud, we have to think of like this anxiety, anything. But when we start to think like that, so this is what I do for myself. Like when I feel anxious, I try to close my eyes and I think of this sunny sky blue, and then I see how the clouds are coming. But the most beautiful thing with these clouds is that they always fade away and the sun is always above it. And that's just an imagination that I've started to build for myself, and it's helping a lot, because obviously I travel a lot. I don't see my family so much because they're in Sweden, and then I have my family here. I haven't been in Kosovo for 3 years now, so I do obviously, you know, go through a lot of stuff. But the controlling the narrative mindset and idea has really helped me, because now I can kind of like separate things and still do my job. Because I think before I started to really get involved in this and in the book, I had days where, you know, it was rough for me, but then I couldn't, you know, deliver at my top, because I thought that, oh, this is who I am today. I am anxious, I am sad, I am angry. But now I try to really, you know, think like that really fast, and then I just go and separate it from work. That was a long answer.
Yeah. Gëzim, when reading about you, I see that one of the goals I do acknowledge the most is that you had an opportunity to pitch in front of the Walt Disney Company.
Yeah.
So what was the idea? Tell us more about your Disney Channel, and what was the story about the show, which is called Music Academy? Yeah. What was that about?
So
how did you reach Disney? It was this connection you mentioned at the beginning?
Yeah. So I was 24. I was in Sweden, in Alvesta, which is once again a really small town. And then I started to work at this music school and became the head of marketing. And then I remember I was just seeing the students, seeing the you know, the locations, seeing everything that we were doing, and you know, as a dreamer, because obviously to really do great things, everything starts from a dream. I try to always think as big as I can. And then I try to think of a beneficial collaboration. So I told myself, wait, who do we need to apply to the high school? And I was like, probably students from 10 to 15, because they are the one, you know, who probably watch Disney Channel, and then they can see it and like, oh, I want to be a part of it. So I started to have this idea that, okay, what if we find six students and do a TV show about it, but these 6 students are all fighting for a dream, and how can they control that situation in high school? Because obviously it's TV, you still have to find something where people want to watch. And then I had a friend that was working. No, I wouldn't say a friend, but I saw him on social media and everything, and I, once again, really texted him, called him, and said that this is what I'm doing. This is the idea. I obviously did a pitch, a PDF, and everything. And then they said, we would, love to hear more. Let me know if you can come to London. Then I moved, went to London. And then I met 7 people and just had to stand in front of them and just do the pitch. And they, especially, this is just my experience, the people from UK don't really give you a facial expression. So I didn't know what was happening. So they were just looking like this. Oh, very good, mate. And I was like, okay. Sen skuptoj, apo bëhet, as bëhet. Vishik qërsha, unë kështu.
Na kem qef me marrë vesh aty për që të kallëzo burë, se kena shpirtin në fyt.
Po jo kisha qef, pa adin kështu veç kështu rëshin. Sa mirë.
Shumë mirë, bravo.
Sa mirë.
Edhe?
Tani shkova. Thash, tani kur erdhan në shtëpi, çfarë më thon aty me shko, thash, kështu për vetë mirë ka lova.
Ma kujtova të Barceletën me atë hutin, që thot po i ke interesu ma, që veç kyç thot po interesu mu dëke.
Po.
Edhe në Angli.
Po veç ashtu, të çfarë më thon, tani erdhan në shtëpi, tani mas një javë, tha, okay, this is what we need for you. We need you to start doing this. Tani patëm një kamerë, tani ata na çojshin direction. Vetë që të zanë që shtë, bëjë me qëta, na çojshin script, na qësën sanë. 19 hapa I kena bo. Tani, krejtë si shpejt. Kja vitin e ri, tha, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, janar po vina me nxëru.
Me nxëru.
Tha, shysh, okej.
Po dhe, s'na dha shpresa, ish fillon
jo, thash, okej, sa qa me thonë. Tani erdhen janar, kështu në Amerikë edhe besoj që ajo ndodh in all TV shows. Kështu që para se me bo një TV show, you have to film a pilot. Tani një episod, tani e këqyrën ato episodin, tani vendosin apo e bojnë a season. Tani erdhen janar e bënën the first episode. Tani maj qatë vjet e kanë shit këto Disney Channel Skandinavi. Tani ato ka jetë shumë mirë, tani we got picked.
Do vish për tregun e Skandinavisë ka qenë.
Po, vish për Skandinavi. E tani it got picked up and then it became 2
So
seasons.
this was before you moved to America in 2019, and you became the first Albanian and Swede to launch High School Institute in the United States, and then moved there.
Yeah.
So now you are living in the US
Now I live full time.
and living the American dream. The
I think for me is that unë gjithë kom pas qef me shku në Amerikë dhe gjithë e kom ditë, por e kom ditë që I puna ka më qu atje. Kështu që e kom prit momentin kur është edhe diçka që më konvenon mu për me shku atje. E kështu që kur e lashën e punën në Suedi, 2017, kom pas shumë kërkesa për me shku në Amerikë, and then I just, followed my intuition and went with the company that I believed in, the Dola.
We know that you are now really successful, but this isn't a journey you do it yourself.
No.
So one thing we wanted to know is that what is the best advice someone has given to you?
I think the best advice anyone has ever given me is that mos me ndryshu vetë vetën për me arrit diçka për success. Because unfortunately in this industry people change and people do a lot of bad things which për me arrit successin e vet, but that doesn't get you far at all. Kështu që I always try to be an advocate about, dije mas pari kush je edhe për cjelle, which to do.
Nuk është fake it until you make it, huh?
I wouldn't say so.
Yeah.
I mean, social media, PR, that's another thing. But if you and I are working together, we're gonna be a team, and that's just facts. But I am not gonna do stuff that benefits more to me, so you don't have, it's just, I think there's, obviously we all know that, people do a lot of interesting stuff, but I think for me that has been the best thing, because I do believe obviously in the way we treat people, that always comes around too. And now I turned 32 this summer, and I just see how nice life is, because I see my other friends and they're dealing with so much drama, but they also know that they are not working with the right people, and it's just not worth it. And for me, you know, I am at this place. I have good people, good friends, and we do things that we, you know, believe in, and so I think that has definitely been the biggest, you know, advice that I try to follow, even today.
And like following up on this, what keeps you motivated?
I think what keeps me motivated is that I just know my purpose. I just know that I am meant to do something great in life, and I feel it every day. And I also, you know, for me, there's nothing better when I see, for example, the students' development and when they achieve their goals. So that's, for example, what fuels me and my energy. And obviously the book has really made me understand that when we write something for the reader, how much that, because now I'm getting emails from all kinds of people from all over the world. I had this woman the other day, because because for me, I thought, you know, industry, education, entertainment. I had this woman who is going through a divorce right now, and she said she read something in the book, and now she feels way better about what has happened.
Really?
That's and then I was like, this led to someone, you know, in divorce. But I think, and what she quoted was that you know, in life we go through things, and I'm very close to my parents, and I said I have gone through something very hard with my, you know, just in life, and then my dad kept listening to me for 2-3 days, and then he said that the best revenge in life is to move on. And I think that's what she saw, because she was going through a divorce, and when she said that, when I read that, you know, the best revenge is to move on, something clicked for her, and now she has completely been a different place. So, you know, when I read that, I was like,
amazing. Tash si ndrojmë pak pjesën e dytë, na shta më shku me pyetje përgjigje përpara se në fakt edhe një pyetje e kam, po bëni një gati nëse veç keni dëshirë më kyç. I'm quoting you now, Gëzim. You say that there are a lot of people who live with a perception of who they should be, but I believe we have to claim our own narrative. And you said that, quoting again, my book is all about finding your purpose.
Exactly.
So it's more linked to personal stories, to personas, individuals.
So I share some stuff. I also share some stuff that my friends. So I interviewed friends. They have shared, you know, their experience and stories. And then I have quoted doctors. I've quoted other authors. I've really tried to, you know, do an educational book that really, you know, isn't too far from just being opinions, because I think for me, obviously, being in education, I also know how important it is to try to stay as much as possible close to facts and you know, sana që ka ndodhur për një më, kështu që, you know, that's, you know, the whole strategy.
Edhe ti përmend në social media, thua që ka misuse, po këtu në tregimin ton, you say that you have created a lot of success through the social media, and you also love marketing. So what is your approach on using like social media for the professional work and also personal?
I think for me it's just that that's how I connect with people. You know, that's how we connect. That's how I connect with anyone. I always try to send emails. I try to tell people. I mean, for example, a lot of people have asked me, okay, Gëzim, you're on New York Post, you're on NBC News, you're on LA Weekly, tash ti po dal në vjesht me sa në tjera.
Nica kë e ku?
E qashtu. E kështu këtë ma bon, që thermaqat publicist, punojna me ta. But I have done that all by myself.
Yourself.
And
so you don't have a manager?
I don't have a manager. So I've done all of that by myself.
I thought your sister was a manager because she came with you.
Këto e marrë gjithë në vetë. And I think that I have done that through storytelling. So NBC News, for example, it's very easy to get in touch with NBC News. You know, you go to their website, they always have, you know, some kind of email, and I started to email them about the story, about the book and things, and then someone replied, and then that person didn't reply, and then all of them said, you know, this is not the right timing, this is not this, but I just kept going.
Persistence.
And, you have to
This
be
is what
consistent.
Krenar from Type told us. I mean, he attended like 500 pitches for the Type product. So, I mean, but he never
all the
gave up.
magazines that you see now happening with me, all of them said no
Yeah.
in the beginning. And now all of them, are doing this big stuff and big things, and now everyone is reaching out. But that goes back to, controlling the narrative. Because even if I get a no, I have now built a narrative for me that I deserve a yes. So that's why I see that, build that, and then even if you don't believe it, I feel like it's my responsibility to make you believe in me.
Yes.
So that's why the biggest thing to achieve this mindset I'm talking about is that you cannot have an ego. I think that does not work.
Yeah.
Because once again, you are doing it from mission, you're doing it for something else. It's bigger than you, it's bigger than us, it's bigger than our egos.
Amazing. That's a great way to end this first part of the interview. Tash kishim shku me ndaj pyetje, ndaj koment prej mysafirëve. Po, Salim.
Përshëndetje. Jam startup në ICK dhe mirëm paka shumë me shitje dhe marketing online.
Nice.
Tash me sa kuptova, e merr një influencer dhe e channel chat influence për me mrri një qëllim. Qysh me mujt me mrri me channel ke chat influence. Kam paka shumë, e kam një uri të vogël, po më vjen një ki, një këshill, një kes, një diçka që mundet me mullit për me mujt me bëj ato më mirë.
Po. Ajo qështash, it goes back to the mission. Do you guys have a mission, that as a slogan, or like what do you guys stand for?
My company has the slogan that we build brands.
Okay,
so
you build brands.
It's not about my company, it's about the fashion designers that I work with.
Okay. So your question is that you mean that how you can connect with other fashion brands?
No,
I understand.
How can I channel that influence that they have? Not like they... E ka një influencë që është shumë e gjanë, po du me channel specific.
Okay. Kështu që, I don't know how to answer that question, but I think for me, I just try to think of this, mission statement, and I try to think of, how we can connect what you guys stand for. Because even if you're a marketing company, everything, you now have to go for the needs, that the other client has. So I think it's such a, so this is for me, for example, because I have a lot of friends who obviously just run marketing companies. When they work with someone else, they obviously, go after the client's needs, and they have to figure out that whole mission statement together. So I think, do you have a client, for example, that you work with right now that you can share about, something that they would want to do?
Yeah, but they almost are the same. Like
so
they're doing for the same thing, and I want to change that because the designs are different. They still go for the same thing. Like for example, Albina Dula is one of the biggest in Kosovo, so they try to follow her. So I want to differ that. Like they have an influence. I know I can see through that, but how can I change that influence? Not let them follow Albina Dula. Lead.
Yeah. I mean, that's where obviously I think you should come with something, your own idea, pitch. As I said with, what I did with Walt Disney or anything, you have to create your own pitch, you have to create your own PDF. So obviously whoever is choosing that they believe in what you, have envisioned. So I think and this is what I'm saying, like even if they say no, if you really believe in this idea that they should do, as I said, that's our responsibility to really push and have them think that, okay, let's go with you, because this is something, because sometimes even if, so for example, if someone is doing something that you do not believe in, I have had that so many times, I actually end the collaboration, because at the end of the day, that's going to be a representation of your company as well. So once again, that's just, that is something that I've always followed. If I feel like it's going outside of my visions, it's something that I could present, then I just end it.
Faleminderit. Polart?
Gëzim, thanks for the presentation. That was really good. So you've moved from Sweden to US.
Yeah.
I'm quite curious to know actually how you managed to build this whole new network. How did you go about it? Was it like, did you already have a plan, or did you go like, I'll move there and see what happens? What was the way to do that?
So I was 24 when I started to work as the head of marketing at this music school in Sweden, and then I did Walt Disney. I had Steve Angelo from Swedish House Mafia fly to the school. I had a lot of very incredible people believing in this idea, because the whole platform was that to create a new meeting point for Swedish students in south of Sweden, Småland. And then I got recognized by Forbes in America, and they did a big piece about what I was doing in the US, in Sweden, and then that introduced me to America. So I think I did have obviously a very good situation, because when I launched my own company, I already had clients waiting for me because of that article. So, but yeah, but still until this day, there are networks that happens, things that happen, and I think because that's what I usually hear. When you meet me, people say that they feel like they know me. Edhe veç ashtu e kam identitetin, edhe që ashtu e kam prind, që ashtu e kam motrën, që ashtu këtë si familjarisht jena. Edhe që ato e vlerësoj shumë që e kam, because what...
Vlerësojnë edhe jashtë?
Po, more. Kështë që... Adem se shumë herë ka ndodhë që unë për shembull ndaj me ty, tani ti ke shumë eksperiencë mirë me mua, tani ky thotë adin vallë Gëzimi unë ka pëlqyer se ç'to. Tani ti I thot dikuna tjetër. And that's what this whole industry is about. It's relationship based. We live on what people say about us when we're not in the room.
Yes.
E çajo është numër 1. Se kështu muna me kesh milione tjetër, por kur dalone, ç'atëherë çka folni për mua, çajo është that's my brand. Unë me kanë çto më thon, unë jam çike, unë bëj çto. That's not my brand. But the way people speak about me, that is my brand. So I think, try to be as thjesht as possible.
Faleminderit, po.
Faleminderit.
Hello, Gëzim. I'm a university professor, and I came here just to get motivated by your speech. So you best personify the idea that if a window closes, you have to open a window.
Yeah.
The first moment you were thrown out of the window, and the second moment you threw yourself.
Yeah.
I want to know which is more defining, being thrown or throwing yourself out of the window.
I would say for me it's been so many moments that I had in America and Sweden where I had nothing else than to literally just to be fearless. And one thing that I always try to tell people is that unë kom pas shumë momente, shumë që se besoj që keni një quote thonë që if you get a no, but if you get a no, you're talking to the wrong door. Kështu që go to the next door. Unë kom shkum next door, kus më ka qel derën. Kështu I build my own door and open my own door. Kështu që edhe çat san kom çam I thon, like sometimes, we have to create our own opportunities. But to answer your question, I think both are valuable, because obviously I don't remember how it was being thrown out the window. But my mom, when she shared that, it made me understand that, okay, këtu, është një arsye pse do kanë momente. And I think that's another thing that I have to say is very powerful with storytelling, because it also was the right moment. Si për example që kjo gruaja që ka thënë përjetoj që sa tani ka lexuar librin, tani ato ka thonë the best revenge to move on. That was the moment that she needed.
Yes.
For me, unë I marrë në shpejt kom pak I mërzitëm, tani më ka thënë hajde djalem. Ka zë diçka. Tash qysh. Kështu që
çaj më sa të mirë të thoj, unë bile keshëm, tani më ka thënë më ka gjujë drejtori.
Prej xhomit, cili doj.
Ferma telefon.
Kështu që më ka dukë shumë interesant. Kështu që I know that was But so that the first one obviously created my perception, but for me, I always have to throw myself out the window. And I think this is what goes back to your question is that as contractors, I mean independent people who are just, because we are visionary, we are creative people, we have to make people believe in us. But sometimes we have to jump through the window first for everyone to believe in us. Yes. So that's why we have to always do that.
Follow an example.
Exactly. So.
My last question would be, are you famous or do you feel famous?
I don't feel famous, I wouldn't say I am famous, but I would say I hope I am influential, because there's two different things. I think you're either famous or influential. And for example, now when I became an author, I started
So not an influencer, but an influential.
Influential, I know, influence, for example, when I started to write books, when I started to read books, there's a lot of authors who are very, very popular. I think if you, for example, start thinking about education or anything, if my name comes up, yes, that would make me happy, because I do want to be an example, because I also question a lot of stuff that happens in education, and I want to change that. But no, I don't think I feel. I definitely don't feel famous.
Look how you start the book. In so many ways, I've lived what people have called a charmed life.
Yeah.
So you, what does it mean?
No, it just means that I think. Kështu që unë apet një vetën që kom pas shumë fat, që ka nis historia jam, që po muj me shku në Amerikë, që po muj me bë sanet e mia. And I have to understand that, that's something that me ka një falenderues që that happens. Kështu që that's why
you need to acknowledge other people's support throughout your journey, because që kemi pa edhe natë sot që shohim është që njerëz kur mbërrin diçka harrojnë pse dikush ja kanë gjitë krahin për një moment caktuar, rritën shumë si kompani, si persona, si individ, thonë vetja kom nis. Vetja kom nis, vetëm i suksesshëm, e ndoshta një ndihmë e vogël, po në kohën kur ja ke nisur kohën shumë e madhe, e që dush me qenë mirë njerëz, për shkak se edhe jep shembull shumë të mirë gjenerata që vijnë, kur e falenderon dikën, për shembull. Po e di kur më shkon se e di, Gëzimi më ka thënë, më ka qitë një kafe, më ka njoftuar me çito. Tash nashta kur të rritësh do ku shumë sa një vogël, po për çat kohë shumë sa një madh, dhe po besoj që edhe në libër.
Po edhe çato në libër, po edhe çato që po ta çam me thonë që that's exactly what we live off. If I do something to you without my personal benefit, then you're going to have a moment that you're going to build a bridge for me as well without your personal benefit. Because once again, it's such a relationship-based, world. Kështu që unë për vete, që të sanë non-stop ndodhen, që njerëz të harrojnë, especially when people start working with famous people. I actually get scared sometimes because I have friends that I think are very good. Tani vish janë nisën me punoj me fem, so jo vish për ata, po edhe s'ka ç'më thon core values, po diç më thon shep, s'ka vlera, ato vish që shkelin krejt, vish më thon që unë ç'ta e bëna me ç't njerëz.
Po edhe se kanë gat.
Tani po jo, kurse është kanë gat. And I think once again, that's what we have to.
Faleminderit. Po një pyetje kim? Po.
Yes, hello, I'm Anissa, I'm 18, and actually I felt anxious when I came here. I had a lot of questions in my mind, and I really liked your interview today, and I'm glad I decided to come here. I had a lot of questions in my mind, but I'm just gonna sum it up to one. Earlier you said that you feel you were meant to be something big. You always felt it in yourself, but then before that you said that during the pandemic, like in 2020, you had like a lot of unanswered questions. What kept you going through that time? Because there must have been something that must have kept you going.
Yeah, I think it's the book, because once again I started to it was March the 17th. I remember it as yesterday. I called my friend. I was like, what's happening? What should I do? Should I? Because unë jam në Amerikë me punë vizës, kështu që kur dol presidenti atëherë tha we're blocking Europe to fly in.
Trump, ja.
Trump. E kështu që what that meant is now I couldn't leave because if I left I couldn't come in. Po tani janë nisi protestat, janë sane, virusi u shpërnda ma shumë, vish vetë banes, e tani kom thirë një shoqë që punoj me ato në institut, tani ja ka thonë, when I feel anxious, I start to write down my thoughts. Kështu që I started kjo prej angthit ja ka nisë të sane me ndodh, and that's why I am happy how I used something that happened to me that made me feel something very anxious. Tashti, për me konon që tashti këto me juve. Kështu që I think that's my biggest advice. If you ever feel anxious, especially during a pandemic, just write down your thoughts, even if it doesn't lead to a book, because I did not start writing because I was like, oh, I did Bobona author. It was just, okay, this makes me feel good. Shkusha sane. And then after it just, I don't know, something for me clicked when I could see how I felt. So the kanë njëherë, I shkusha të sane, thosha, jo, Kështu që I would say, adin për me shkru, or nisan që I also do is that when I feel something, adin kur e një vetëm pa keq, I listen to music, nostalgic music. Për shembull, unë shumë koncept me ngu muzikë pak ma shumë, që se muzika është se
edhe të lidh me
vende, me shokim vanen ato. Kështu që për shembull, unë kur e një vetën ajsan, for example, that's why I listen a lot to Frank Sinatra, because Frank Sinatra e kom prej që në fëmi, moj menë që nisha vetën, mojsha, gjithë herë që ngojsha, thojsha, o, Andra Amerike, inshallah shkoj. Kështu që whenever
New York, huh?
New York, Kështu që when gjithë sen kur, për shembull, këse kom edhe momente kur thom kështu, aja vlen që kjo mo. Se shumë tashti motra e madhe, kjo është motra vogël, po motra e madhe edhe vllavi i madh kanë bë fëmijë. E po më thirin, kanë e pëthojnë, qyshti në Amerikë, sporën me neve, ata s'po kuptojnë, tani për shembull kur e kanë ai ditëlinje, më thonë, hej, nesër e kam ditëlinje, ndaja, po vjen, unë në Amerikë, tani e I kam ato momente që,
po dhe se belen nështë të diçka më rapa, që është...
Po, a me shku në shpe, a me qa me bo, po tani kur e ngoj Frank Sinatra, it makes me think, that I am doing something bigger here. Se besoj që sukseset që jam të I badin, ka me kanë mirë edhe për familje, edhe për komunitetin, dhe sidomos komunitetin shqiptar. Kështu që...
Faleminderit. Po?
Përshëndetje.
Kur na vin kafet kryet ndokut, ha? Intervista, se s'mira me pjesë prasut e...
Jo.
E pash.
Faleminderit shumë për historien që ndove me neve, mu personalisht më inspirove shumë me krejt tregimin që e jape. Njajtë edhe në sikur ajo qikaj, para se me ardhë këto, I kom përcjell historit e tua edhe kom pas shumë pyetje me t'i bo, për momentin I mora këtë përgjigje çka po ta nevoj. Pyetjen e vetme që kam është çka nëse dikush nuk e ka narrativën, nuk e ka qatë misionin ose vizionin ose qatë pamjen e qartë, pasqyrën qysh m'ja bo vetit edhe qysh m'ull me bo një plan strategjik ku po e shë vetën në 2 vjetë, 3 vjetë, 5 vjetë e ardhshme. Qysh me gjetë qatë narrativ edhe qysh me ditë që qajo është e duhura, nuk është diçka driven by ego ose prej sanëve që I ki për rreth ose prej ndikimeve që mund është mi pas për njerëzve, qysh me gjithë që ato që është për një me e jutja.
Po. Të kësha pas do libra, është të kësha pas që me jep librën, se është libra krejt që ato sane që I thu, that's the chapters, really.
Na, këna me marë sot një kopje të originalës, kështu që po të premtojmë që mund është me ko lexuesja e parë, po me na këthy pas një javë. Kështu që mas ditë mund është marë një CK, ose nesër me marë edhe me na këthy. Do më dhune para që e lezon kopjen është.
Veç me përgjit që veç pak është që fund do të me... Besoj që kete I kena një arsye. Adin këto tash kështu edhe me menu, pak do të me menu, adin unë menoj që, from higher powers. Ato, that's at least, what's always gonna make us driven. Kështu që unë gjithë I thamë, adin, për shembull, kosh një arsye, adin për shembull, do në I sana adet, adin thë, do dhe për që sana, hajde, adin kështu me konë qete, me mirë, veç, to sane, adin, krejt besoj që kena një arsye, për na do të me gjetë, Edhe unë që të për shembull me nxënësa, se kam shumë nxënësa që vinë, thonë po do më bë artist. Tani fund programit janë manaxhera, janë eventa, janë ashta veç diçka tjetër. Veç unë edhe kur kurs bën ty me thonë çka kam e bë. Se your passions should be driven by a purpose. E kështu që ti pasionin ton, that's your energy. Kështu që I can give you advice, I can give you things. Për që ata unë gjithë i thamë nxënësave, adin që kërë më kanë i ri, shumë, adin, kanë më thajshën kështu, adin, hajtë se hale i ri, adin ki ma shumë eksperiencë, ti vim tjeta me pa, adin, sane. Kështu që I wish I could, vish me shpejt me të lezu librën, kështu edhe me ti thonë këtë sanet, po mas se pe bi librën, kom qef me lezu, tani mund më shkru edhe nëse se njën vetën që të kanë përgjigjet, adin muna me folë ma shumë.
Okej,
shumë faleminderit.
Mos tani, faleminderit.
A kemi pyetje tjera? Nëse jo, atëherë na ka dale po e mbyllim këtë aktivitet, është edhe hane, më thonë, na jemi këtë që kemi survive sa një hillin, të fillu për Horanikut edhe Rilës me drilonin. Me një thonje që e tha dhe Gëzimi, nëse këtë dhirët janë të mshelta, kreo një dhirë tonën. Kështu që me qëta, me një kohë tonën, po e përmbyllim këtë aktivitet këngjarje. Faleminderit shumë, rruga e marë për në Swedi nesër. Na i këna përësi do kafe, kështu që nështë ta ekipa vesh me apo dhe këtë derin këtu, për rrimna edhe pak derin kohë të drekës, që me pas mundësi me komuniku individualisht edhe me Gëzimin, për në pyetje shtesë, edhe më njëftu pak me një tjetrin. Faleminderit shumë, edhe shihim në eventet e radhës.